Hi guys, welcome back to Lucky's 3D Studio. In this video, I'm going to show you how to print up to 24 colors with the Bambu Lab H2 Series printer. And with the H2D specifically, you can even print up to 25 colors using the second nozzle to print from the external spool holder. For the H2C though, we still don't have a lot of information on how many AMS units it supports, but what we do know is that it can print at least 7 colors or materials. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So to be able to print 24 or 25 colors with the H2 series printer, you will need 4 AMS units and 8 AMS HD units. The AMS unit doesn't have to be the AMS2 Pro since the AMS1 is still compatible with the H2 series printers. In fact, in this video, I'm going to be using 3 AMS2 Pro and 1 AMS1 units. Now, I only have 4 AMS HD units, but I prepared these AMS HD cutouts for this demonstration video. Depending on your setup, you would also need longer tubes. I would suggest getting 2 packs of these 4-meter long PTFE tubes. 1 pack might be more than enough, but having another pack as a backup is a good idea in case you mess up. Next, you want to get 4 of these 4-in-1 PTFE adapters. If the 6-pin bus cable of your old AMS1 is a bit too short, you might want to get a longer one. The newer 6-pin bus cable is 1.5 meters in length, which is sufficient for most setups. The AMS2 Pro and the AMS HD already come with the newer bus cable, so it only makes sense to buy one to replace the shorter cable of your old AMS1 you got from the combo bundle. When you connect all the AMS units to the printer, you can use the drawing function on only one AMS2 Pro unit without connecting it to the power source. If you want to use the drawing function on all of them, you will need to get the switching adapter for each of the other AMS units, which means for the 4 AMS2 Pros setup, you would need to get 3 switching adapters and connect all of them to a power source. Of course, this is optional if you only drive 4 spools max at a time anyway. The power cable for the AMS HD is already included in the box, so you don't need to pay extra for it. You also want to figure out which setup works for you. 12 AMS units do take a lot of space. The wall mount setups might be a great solution for some people, but if you don't want to go with that option, there are a lot of AMS stacker shelves or racks you can build. I featured this Bambu Duo AMS stacker system in one of my videos, which works the best for me since it's stackable and has such a small footprint. Another favorite of mine is this sliding rack. You have the option to stack multiple of these as well, or you can place the dual racks on each side of your printer. And the best thing is, 4 AMS HDs fit perfectly on top of the H2D, so if you have 8 AMS HD units, you could either mount the other 4 AMS HD units on the wall, or place them on the rack next to your printer, or place them on a rack on top of the H2D, perhaps something similar to this. Of course, this rack is not compatible with this setup since the legs are a bit too wide, but you get the picture. Now I'm going to show you how to connect everything, so let's turn the printer and the AMS units around. Before we start, I want to show you these 2 brackets that you can print to mount the PTFE adapters. If you're placing your AMS units on the left side of the printer, you can print this bracket, or this bracket if you're placing the AMS unit on the right side of your printer. My Bambu Duo stacker is on the left side of the printer, so let's install this 4-in-1 adapter bracket and mount it to the back panel of the printer. I will assign all of my AMS units to the right nozzle, which is the static one, and I highly recommend you do the same. Now let's plug one end of the cable into the 6-pin port of the printer and the other end into the 6-pin port on any AMS unit. Ideally, you want to connect it to the AMS2 Pro that you're going to be using for drying filaments. Then from here, just connect that AMS to the next AMS and so on. The order doesn't matter as long as they are all connected to each other. The last AMS unit will have 1 port free and you're done at this point. Next, let's connect the tubes. You want to insert 3 tubes into the connectors. And for each tube, you want to connect it to another 4-in-1 PTFE adapter like so. Then let's connect all 4 AMS units to one of the adapters. Connect 4 AMS HD units to a second adapter. and the remaining 4 AMS HD units to the last adapter. If you have the H2D, connect the tube to the inlet for the left nozzle. You're going to be using it to feed filament to your printer from the external spool holder. Of course, the last step, which is optional, is to plug in the power cables to a power source if you're planning to use the drying function. It's gonna look crazy with all the cables and tubes back here, so it might be a good idea to do some sort of cable and tube management. Also, make sure that the tubes don't have kinks or sharp bends. Now, in most cases, you probably won't need to print in 25 colors. But to show you the capability of this printer, I'm gonna print these Pokemon characters. It's gonna take 4 days to finish and about 3,700 filament changes in total. I'm gonna feed my white filament from the external spool holder and assign that to the left nozzle. This is almost like a torture test to see how reliable the printer is and whether we face any problems during these 4 days of printing. So except for this one failed print, everything went really well. The tentacle print failed due to bed support, which I then skipped, so let's do a reprint. The prints look great, and as I mentioned earlier, except for the poor support issue on one Pokemon print, the other ones printed without any issues from start to finish. The print weighs, which includes the poop and the prime tower, weigh about 1.2 kilograms, which is a lot, but not entirely surprising, since I used 20 plus colors here and the printer purged multiple colors at each layer. Now, I'm fully aware that this is not a realistic scenario since you could easily save material and time by printing these separately, and most of the time you won't need so many colors. But I'm going to show you a good example next where you might want to use a lot of colors, like this HueForge print. HueForge is a software that you can use to generate STL files from images for 3D printing. It uses TD, or transmission distance, which is a measurement of how much light can pass through a filament to predict the final print appearance. It is, however, a paid software and it costs $20 for personal use. In the software, there's already some TD data for filaments of popular brands, so you can use those to create your HueForge file. However, not all colors are available, plus not every batch of spools is guaranteed to be the same, so ideally you want to measure the TD of your actual filaments to get accurate results. For this purpose, I'm going to use this gadget called the TD1S, which is a product created of a partnership project between Ajax 3D and Bichu. It doesn't just read the TD of your filament, it also measures its color and translates that into a hex code. Now let's open HueForge and connect it to the computer. If you're doing it for the first time, it's gonna download the license for you in the background, so it's also a good practice to create a backup. Next, you want to calibrate your TD1S. First, go to the menu and select Calibrate Lux Sensor. Then select RGB calibration. It will ask you to use black and white filaments for the calibration, so just insert the filament in the small opening of the TD1S where it says in when prompted. When the calibration is done, we are ready to add our filaments to the library. Let's read the TD of this turquoise filament. When you insert the filament into the TD1S, it will show you the TD and the color in hex code right on the display of the gadget. On your computer, a window will pop up and it will show you the TD and the color of your filament. If the color doesn't really match your filament, you can correct it manually or just refer to Bambu Lab's hex code table. Now this is a very quick rundown on how to use the TD1S, so if you want a more detailed explanation, you might want to check out the video from Neo Koi Prints. He did a great job explaining it in detail. He also does HueForge tutorials, so make sure to check those out too. Now I'm gonna measure the TD of these colors and create a HueForge from this image using the color match blending mode, so let's do a time lapse. Now let's import the generated file into our slicer. I'm going to change the infill type to rectilinear and the infill sparse to 100%. Hit slice, and in the preview window, you want to refer to the description text to change filament colors at certain layers. Finally, let's send it to the printer. Keep in mind that HueForge is not a straightforward software and you need to invest a lot of time learning it to get the results that you want. At the time of recording, Bambu is developing their own similar software, and I'm pretty excited to try it out when it's released. Now, the good thing about HueForge prints is that they don't produce a lot of poop. While flat prints in general don't usually generate much poop anyway, but HueForge prints stack colors on top of each other, so it only needs to purge once per color change. Other flat prints, like this stained glass print I featured in my last video, however, do multiple color changes in one layer, so for prints like this, you're gonna end up with more poop. So I hope you learned something from this video. If you're interested in the full work process on how I created the HueForge print, let me know in the comments and I can do a separate tutorial video on that. All the tools and materials used in this video are listed in the description, and I'd really appreciate it if you use the links below, which add no extra cost to you, but they help me keep making videos like this. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.